Hi everybody, it's Judith. I'm really excited to show you some needles we just started carrying at judithandlily.com. These are the Flexiflips by Addi. They are an alternative to working with double points or circular needles. They encompass a lot of the same aspects of those other methods, but I find them to be really superior in a lot of ways. For one thing, they come 3 needles to a set. So you put your stitches evenly onto 2 needles and knit with the 3rd. So you have a lot less needles than you have in double points. And they don't have the great big long cable like you have that you have to keep pulling with magic loop, which gets really cumbersome and really slows you down. These are a nice size needle. It's long enough that you can work with a lot more stitches than you would normally work with. And they have this wonderful flexi center. So when you're not knitting on the group of stitches, they rest here in the center and they don't come toward the end, so they're not falling off the ends like they do a lot of times on the double points. They have 2 different kinds of tips. They have a more pointy tip and a blunter tip. The pointy tip is used for yarns like fingering weight, mohair, sock yarn. The blunter tip would be used for really splitty yarns or heavy yarns, probably like Aran weight or even higher. I have only knitted with the pointy tip. I really love this tip. I haven't worked with this blunt tip yet, but I will at some point. And if you decide to give these a try both tips and see which one works best for you. You can also work either in continental or English style, it doesn't matter. They work exactly the same. So I'll show you how you knit with them. It's a lot of fun. Here's a little project I set up for you. I have divided the yarn evenly between the 2 needles. And right now, and this is how you want to start, both sets of stitches are centered in the flexi area. When you go to start knitting, slip the stitches that are on your left-hand needle or your front needle up to the tip. And of course remember that your working yarn is coming off the back or the right-hand needle. Sorry, I've got to get set up for continental because that's the way I knit. And then just start knitting. You want to make sure that this stitch that you're just going to knit snugs up against the stitch on the back. That doesn't mean pull it tight or anything. It just means that you can see that when it was closed up, if it's closed up, they will be next to each other. You don't want a big long gap. And then just knit along. It's really easy. And because these are Addis, they're nice and smooth and you can just zip along if you want to. Speed, of course, is not the object, but if you want to knit fast, you can. When you finish that set of stitches, push them down into the center, turn your work, and move this group of stitches up to the tip for knitting. So down in the center, up at the tip. And then just make sure that those 2 stitches are going to be next to each other and keep on knitting. You can hold these in terms of the back needle. Some people like to cradle it like this. I let it just flop and I just try to keep them out of the way with my fingers. But then when I look down at my knitting, sometimes I see that I am holding them a little differently. So it'll just become second nature and you'll hold them the way that it works. But they do take a little getting used to, and you'll figure it out as you go along. And that's all there is to it. Back in the center and turn and keep working. Now I'm going to show you what you do if your pattern tells you to start on the small circumference needles. So let's say you're knitting beginning a mitten or the cuff of a narrow sleeve and you're starting at the cuff edge and moving up. The only way that works for me is to cast on all the stitches onto one needle to begin with. And luckily these are nice long, pretty long, so you can get all the stitches onto one needle and then slide them down and transfer half of them to the second needle. And you do that, it's very easy, just do it, just slip them off as if to purl and put them on the second needle. And then slide everything into the center on both needles, into the flexi center. Turn your work and have it so that your working yarn is coming off the right hand needle. And make sure, just take a look and make sure that the cast on edge on both needles is facing itself into the center, so that you know that you haven't twisted anything, because now we're going to join in the round and you don't want it twisted. So slide that first group, the group of stitches on the left hand needle up to the top. Take your working yarn, and so you're not joined in the round yet. So this first stitch is a little different than any of the other stitches. You want to pull this one a little tighter. So you knit this stitch, and then just see there's some slack here, this yarn. You don't want that, so just pull that in. Tighten that up. That's the only time you really pull that stitch tight, is on that very, very first stitch. And then just knit across as usual. Oops, I got a stitch that got split along the way. There we go. Almost. Sorry. It's like watching sausage being made. There we go. Knit across. And then when you get to the end, slide the group of stitches you just knitted into the center. The ones on the other needle should already be in the center. And take a moment to make sure that you're not twisting. So make sure that the cast on edges are still facing each other into the center. Slide the new group of stitches that you need to knit up to the top. And just start knitting along. That's really all there is to it. And then it's just the same as what I was showing you before. You just keep knitting around and around. And I think these are a lot of fun to knit on. I quite enjoy them. So, like I say, it takes a tiny bit of getting used to, but once you get the hang of it, I think you'll really like them. There's other thing I wanted to show you, one last thing, and that is a sleeve that I'm working on with the Flexiflips. I wanted to show you that there is just no laddering where the two needles come together. It's just as smooth as can be, no laddering. Same on this side, no laddering. And then my front side has a little lace pattern. But it's just, these sleeves are coming out beautifully, and I'm really, really happy, and they have not been a hassle at all. So I hope you give these a try. I hope you like them. Let us know what you think. All right, see you later. Bye.